Maybe I told you so isn't the best way to begin a ministry with people. When I first came to you, I didn't tell you I told you so. Do you remember what I started with and what I told you when I came here? I see some heads and I shout it out.
Wherever you go, I will go.
Wherever you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go. I will follow. And I think it's really interesting that Elisha says that to Elijah. It is reminiscent of Ruth and Naomi. Where you go, I will go. Don't send me away. Elisha didn't want Elijah to go. He didn't feel ready. Elijah tells him to stay, but Elisha keeps following Elijah. Nevertheless, it was time for Elijah to go, and it was time for Elisha to take up the mantle. Now, maybe you're wondering why Elisha says, well, give me twice your spirit. Because in the ancient Near Eastern culture of the time, that is the heir's share. The oldest son would get a double portion of the inheritance. So Elisha is saying, well, if you really have to go, let's make certain that I'm your actual heir to this. Got that? Good. I promise this isn't going to be a whole long Hebrew Bible lesson. I'm sorely tempted. Okay. And then the people, the prophets from where? But the other prophets, they didn't want Elijah to go either, did they? They didn't want to believe he was gone. What did they do? Well, he's probably somewhere. Let's go out and look for him. Let's go out and look for him. He must be somewhere. Now, when a minister leaves a church, there can be similar feelings sometimes. Oh, but we've been doing things this way for so long, and we're not sure about this new leadership. But I want to tell you that I'm so excited that Reverend Larry Smith is coming here with you. First of all, it means that the entire staff is going to be named either Larry or Kate. 2 Larrys, 2 Kates. But more, I'm excited because he's so skilled. He's proved his mettle. He's definitely got a double portion, not from me, you understand. I am not saying that I'm Elijah. That would be, for those of you of Jewish heritage, you know what a completely rude thing that would be to claim that I was Elijah, right? But he's a skilled transitional minister. Today, I'm going to walk off camera if I go to the right. I remember to stay on the screen. He's so skilled, and he's so wonderful, and he's such a great colleague, and I'm so excited for all of you. I'm so thrilled that he's coming here. Not least because, even though I will be working on Long Island, this is still my actual home now, and so I'll get to see him occasionally, maybe. I know you're going to do wonderful, wonderful things with Reverend Larry, and after his time, and ongoing because you're such a great group of people. And haven't we done some pretty astounding things in the last 3 years? Now, I'd love to take personal credit for all that stuff. But you know, it wasn't me. It was all of us together. Let's think about this. How many of you have been in a church community during a big pandemic like the one we've had, an airborne virus before? Anybody? Anybody? Bueller? Okay. These are astounding times. We learned how to do pandemic church together. And we came out of that, we said all along that we're not going back to the old normal, we're going to have a new normal. And here we are in the Lehigh Valley Active Life Center. I'll get to that in a moment. And we're having multi-platform worship. Hello, folks on Zoom. Remember, we always have folks joining us on Zoom. You can see some of them across the top of our screen here. You sold a building. Holy moly. During the pandemic. You were so thoughtful in the way that you went about it, right? You had a team leading you through what are our options? What would it really cost to keep this building? The answer was, this is not a spoiler, a lot, right? And you made a courageous decision to sell that property without having a firm place to go yet, and then to look for temporary space, because that can be anxiety provoking, and you said, no, we're gonna manage our anxiety, we're gonna have temporary space, we're gonna rent some temporary space while we figure out what we really wanna do. And I kept hearing mission. We wanna be able to serve our mission. Wow, are you proud of yourselves for that? Because you ought to be. You ought to be. And I'm so privileged to have been your minister during the time that you did. And we did some other cool things while I was with you. I did a lot of work with the board and with looking at governance and how we run things together, and some administrative things. And one of my favorite and most important administrative things that you did while I was with you was you became a UUA fair employer. Now, being a fair employer means that it costs more money. But you chose to do it because it's the right thing to do, because you can't go out into the world and say, hey, you people, you corporations and businesses, you can't be treating your employees that way if we're not treating our employees the right way, right? Are you proud of yourselves for that? Yeah, you ought to be. You ought to be. We tried some different styles of worship. We tried some alternative worships. We did a whole bunch of things. We have a bunch of storytellers now. And I'm just so proud of all that work we did together. And you will always have a place in my heart. But now, it's time for me to go. There's not going to be any chariot of fire lifting me, I guarantee it. But now it is time for me to go. And perhaps you will remember me fondly, some of you for my time here being with you, maybe some of you because I'm gone. You've heard that saying, everyone brings joy coming through our doors, some when they come in and some when they leave. however you remember me. I do hope it is fondly. I will certainly be remembering you fondly. Now it's time for you to soar without me. It's important that I stay away from the congregation. So even though I live in Bethlehem, we aren't going to be going to the movies or having coffee together, because I need to make space for you to get to know Reverend Larry, and for Reverend Larry to be able to move into the role of being your pastor. But I do live in Bethlehem, even though I will be going to Long Island for the next 2 years. Perhaps I will run into you in the Wegmans or at the Flying Egg. And if we do run into one another, we don't have to pretend like we don't know each other. Say hello. Absolutely, let's say hello. I will be unfollowing you, those on Facebook, those of you who have become my Facebook friends, because I need to separate myself. But I can't tell you to unfollow me. You may do that, or you may choose not to, but I will be unfollowing you. Now, as I said, it is the time for you to soar without me, and I am reminded of Mary Poppins. When it was time for her to go, the Banks family was happily caring for one another as you care for one another. And they had gone to the park to fly a kite. I want you to let your kite soar. With tuppence for paper and strings, you can have your own set of wings. With your feet on the ground, you're a bird in flight. But with your fist holding tight to the string of your kite, go fly your kite, soar, enjoy yourselves, be the beacon that you can be in the Lehigh Valley. Beloveds, it has been my honor and pleasure to serve as your minister. Namaste. I would like to invite Tara